everybody, my name is Mars Ruth. Thank you for joining me here in COA broadcast. With me, the person not needing much introduction, Chuck Brooks. Chuck, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Max, for having me. It's great to be here.
One of the most followed people on social media in the cybersecurity area. I have prepared quick questions for you. Can we begin?
Sure.
So, as you know, our channel is focused on telecommunication. You have years of experience in this field. Many people consider fake news problem really serious, and some even state that information warfare campaigns by other countries, such as for example Russian involvement in 2016, I'm sure you remember, can impact society so much that the democracies will not be able to organize the democratic elections without that kind of interference. And I heard a statement that fake news might be considered an atomic bomb of 21st century. What's your opinion about that?
Fake news is definitely a real danger, and it's going to get even more dangerous after they get capabilities with artificial intelligence to actually mimic actual people's images and voices and reproduce things. So I think there's two issues there. One is the fake news of creating all this fake propaganda, and the other is actually taking someone else's image and making them say something that is not actually them. So I think that second part is what's going to be really more of a threat to society, what's real and what isn't. Right now, I think we're bombarded with so many different outlets. I think fake news is dangerous, but there's so many inputs. I mean, you've got, with social media now, you have thousands of literally news organizations that popped up. So it's a question often of balance and perspective, but I think in the future, the real danger is when you have a capability to create fake news, literally fake news.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you on that one, because also I want to understand your perception regarding this previous statement of mine, which is mostly about this democratic elections problem. Do you think it's true? Is there a way to show the society how fake news is disrupting this democratic process, and for them not to impact their political stance, political convictions, decisions, basing on some news articles, headlines that they saw online and decided to vote accordingly? I know democracy system with flaws, but I do not think there is a better alternative out there. Do you think it's true?
I think there's two issues here. One is the fact that you're going to get a lot of information that's just not true. The second part, which I think is much more dangerous, is the censorship of ideas. I think you have a free flow of ideas and you get a lot of inputs, you can make your decisions. But when big social media giants or whatever start labeling what is truth and what isn't, from their perspective, I think that's wrong. I'm very much into the free market and the free ideas, unless it's hate speech and unless it's aimed against really creating violence against someone. So I think that all political ideas should be open, and so I'm more worried about control by a few media outlets and social media outlets of what can be seen, what can't be, and with their comments on it. I just don't think that's a good thing. It reminds me a little bit of tyranny that we experienced under Stalin and other places, and even back to the Nazis, where they control what you see and then they comment on it. And now within China too, you have the issue of the social media. They monitor you, what you say and do. So I think the real threat to society is not necessarily the different viewpoints that may be true or not true. It's the fact that you're censoring those viewpoints.
Yes, especially as, for example, in many countries already, social media is mostly used by dictators in order to prolong manipulation and establish manipulation campaigns. So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Absolutely. So I think we can make a smooth transition to a second topic: investment in cybersecurity and the future of this whole area. You have advised numerous people in charge of setting guidelines, some sort of patterns for the future of cybersecurity in the US. Throughout the Cold War, for example, US and USSR invested billions in arms race, which thanks God was not used, but the resources were wasted. I mean, it could have been invested in education, infrastructure, so on. How can you advise future CIO, CSO, CISO, many, etc., many names of the person responsible for the investment to avoid this overspending on security, because maybe it will not be worth it at the end?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think it starts with basically understanding what your gaps are in your company or organization or as an individual. Like everyone doesn't need the best of everything, and you don't need multiple, antivirus programs and other things that you want to have. You really have to focus, and that creates basically creating a strategy and a framework. And if you have a cybersecurity framework, you go through and you do the steps. You see what your vulnerabilities are first. You do assessment of that. You look at penetration testing. You look at all these various things you can do. You look at your how strong your passwords are. Or do you have the right VPNs? Or your router secure? Just basically a checklist, that kind of stuff. And then you say, okay, well, for what we're doing maybe payments online. We need extra security there. Maybe you need a stronger VPN. We may need a out service or capabilities there. So there's a lot of variables. So I think that question of it's easy to spend too much. Most companies may have like 35 different security programs in there, and they're not even coordinated. So more doesn't necessarily mean better. It must be a waste of money. I'm really a big believer in having sort of an austere, direct plan to get the best you need for what you want it. And that's I think what people too, and companies particularly.
Yes, so I understand to have some sort of task list, right? Which is going to verify the status and what kind of investment you will need to elevate the status higher.
Yeah, if you're working in a critical infrastructure that your whole community depends upon you having the power up or the water supply there, you have different requirements. But if you're running a store, you may need to ensure that your payment system's good, that no one can hack your website and take you down. Things like that. Everything's different. But if you're an individual too, I mean, your data, your banking data is just as valuable to you as data is to a business. So all those things are in consideration. And I think the most difficult part of it is that the world of cybersecurity is transforming so quickly with capabilities and algorithms and machine learning, and the fact that now that there's a lot of organized crime and state-sponsored cyber attacks, it's very difficult for those that don't have the right understanding, capabilities, or tools to defend themselves. And that's where I think we're going right now. We're going more into the automation world where cybersecurity will be taken on by some of the bigger companies in the future, because it's just too difficult, too much of a threat landscape, and too many vulnerabilities for everybody.
I think we can make another smooth transition to another section of our interview. Chuck, so as you know, COA Broadcast is focused on telecommunication, but also on privacy in this telecommunication sphere. Some of you, I'm sure you have seen our previous video regarding WhatsApp and how, for example, WhatsApp uses your privacy in order to provide the service for free. There are similar cases when it comes to whole social media platforms. Obviously, they are free. People accept privacy policies, which I'm sure you will agree with me, definite minority is reading until the end. But obviously this true value of privacy, I think it's lost. And do you think contemporary societies, overwhelmed with all those free services online, which we know are not free per se, but we pay for it with our data, with our privacy, is our society lost the true value of privacy?
I think the answer is yes there. And some people say there is no such thing as privacy, including Vince Cerf, one of the founders of the internet and the chief evangelist for Google. I think privacy is a fleeting thing because most people don't recognize its importance. Every day we get on something, we share our data. Every time we buy something, we like you say, we don't read the fine print. They get our name and our buying habits. It's all over the place. And then most people, particularly the younger generation now that's grown up basically communicating on on smartphones rather than communicating in person, disregard most privacy things. They just don't care until it's too late. I mean, they post everything anyway on TikTok and everything, and a lot of it catches up to you later on. But the idea of having privacy is a very difficult thing right now, just because of our connectivity. We've got too many things going on, from our banking to everything we buy to our schools. Everyone has our data, and the way to do it is two ways. I mean, you can either try and be off the grid entirely and not be part of it, or you can, just be an open book. And that's why I've gone that way. The open book way is just, I'm gonna say as much as I can, do as much as I can about me, and hopefully that if I do get hacked, or if my sites are stolen, I'll know from someone. And that has happened in the past. I've had my Facebook and my Twitter accounts and my LinkedIn impersonated several times, but I've been able to recover them quickly because people know who I am.
This very own thing that you said about a younger generation who is jumping on the opportunity to have all those social media services for free. They do not value the privacy. You are from the generation that also remembers this times before, where people valued their privacy much more than nowadays. The question is for you, is it normal and is it okay for some people, my friends sometimes, they say, they know about me everything, so why to even bother? Do you agree with this statement? I mean, should it be like that?
No, I still think, as individuals, we have a right to our own, personal, whether it be beliefs or what we do in activities every day. And to sort of broadcast it, have it broadcasted all over the internet is really not a proper way to go for anybody. And it destroys lives and later on. I mean, there are plenty of people that have been embarrassed by things they've posted, or people that have posted pictures of them or whatever of them that they've said, whether, in the past. If you go, basically, anyone running for any kind of office, political offices, they look into their posts in the past, and I'd say that 85% of them have something that they regret posting. So, there's an element there that, you just have to assume that everything you're doing and saying right now is being watched. And, it depends upon where you are too. If you're in a position of responsibility, you may be being watched by foreign governments who are interested in the information you have, or competitor in industry. So I think it's a sort of an Orwellian world right now, where everything we do can be watched and seen, and the information we have about us is really our value. And it's a scary scenario. I could see it again when I go back to my your early question. Totalitarianism is controlling information, and if a bad element can control the information and take over, like they do in other these countries like Venezuela and others, we'll have another horrible scenario where the people have no privacy. They know what you do, they know everything about you, and you don't want anyone knowing everything about you.
Chuck, it sounds like a George Orwell scenario. We would really like to avoid that. So Chuck, I hope this invaluable insight that you just gave, it will inspire some of the younger generation, before this moment of launching their own social media accounts. Thank you very much. Wonderful to have you on our show here, and I wish you all the best.
Same to you. Thank you for having me.